Today I'm going to be explaining the multimodal architecture of LiveKit, a recent open source project that's partnered with OpenAI. This company also recently just raised their second round of seed funding, I think, at around like $80 million. Yeah, very few people right now are doing this or kind of know how because it's not very no code friendly. But now where we're at with AI, with Cursor, with Claude 3.7, one-shotting whole applications, GitHub MCP explain me exactly how to set this up and install it for me. I know zero code. Now it's like more possible than ever to be able to get into these kind of open source projects. This isn't some synthflow go high level system that you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know how it works. You don't have control over it. You can't build on top of it. They're charging you for usage. You're not even getting the real time rate of what it costs, and they're white labeling it to you. And as these LLMs get better and smarter, and as the text to speech, different competitors come and have better models, like you're going to want full control over which LLM is involved in it, and which text to speech model is involved in it, and which speech to text model is involved in it. So this is a framework that combines speech to text with LLM with text to speech with three different service providers, and it streams it in a very high latency setting using LiveKit. And so you have full control over whether you want to use Gemini 2.5 Pro as your LLM, like if you talk to Gemini or if you talk to Grok or if you talk to ChatGPT, like you're essentially going to be able to do the same thing and just choose your LLM and choose how it works, what tools it has connected to, instead of just being able to search online and search Reddit. And so that's what we're going to be going over today, and how to understand this and how to get started with setting this up. This is A to Z of building superintelligence. And instead, don't try this at home. I encourage everyone to try this at home, because I think one, control is going to be huge, and this is as close as you can get to super intelligence. When you have this control, we're at the point where, and a lot of people with LLMs, they think AGI is possible soon, but more importantly, we're on a linear path with LLMs. As I had said, it's simply just predicting the highest likely output of its training data. So in the future, ChatGPT, they're just going to have more and more training data, and the intelligence level of it is going to get higher. At no point is it just going to gain consciousness, but at some point it will be higher than the average like IQ of any person you'd like hire, pay, a lot of money for, or is considered super intelligent. So because this framework allows you to plug in the best of the best as they become the best of the best, this is the closest it becomes to super intelligence at home. Number two is because also when you use ChatGPT, if you text to it, it requires like time to format that prompt. The second best and most leveraged thing to do is hold down the record voice mode, and then it will turn it into text for you. That's speech to text. And then from there, the third most is ChatGPT's, where you get the prompt as fast as possible, the response as fast as possible. Actually, what we're doing is this is the most leveraged way to use AI as of right now. And the third reason is because right now there's like new research done of the top generative AI use cases. And number one is now therapy and companionship. Number two is now organizing my life, which is a new use case, which relates to this as well, because it's going to be able to do therapy companionship, like a business partner for you. Also organize your life with your tools connected to it. Finding purpose is the third highest right now, which is a new use case as well. And this will also allow you to find purpose. Enhanced learning, it's also going to have the ability to help you think through problems and learn new things as it's connected to the internet as well. Generating code, it's not necessarily going to be a use case for that. Generating ideas, yes. Fun and nonsense, yes. So this, hits all of the points of the top generative AI use cases as of right now with the way that we're going to engineer it. So in order to think about this, I've seen a lot of people posting these like advanced process maps I'm sure you've seen of like these multi AI calling flows with a main CEO who delegates to 10 voice agents, who then delegate to 10 automations with 10 tools connected to them. And frankly, that's kind of just really shiny and doesn't really explain or show a concept of which is, most in a controlled environment with LLMs, like most possible. Because at the end of the day, the end user is always going to have to guide it or direct it to, get to interact with that LLM. So from here, this is actually going to be pretty simple. I've just broken it down into four main things that I find myself right now using AI for, and the voice modes that are available to me for. And that is going to be sales. So talking through new clients I'm going to take on, how much I should charge, market sentiment, sales scripts, all that stuff, or even sales role play. That's a big one. Operations is a big one, the structure of the company and everything, content, and then mindset. Kind of just like making sure that you're all good in all four of those areas. So these are the first four areas that I look to break down into these super intelligent voice agents. Why did I break them down instead of making one big one? Well, because an LLM is limited to its system prompt, and there's only so much that you can fit in the system prompt before it starts to hallucinate. So it's better for a structure like this to like segregate all of your roles into more broad categories, which are all four different system prompts. So they're all going to act the same, and it feels more realistic, like a team that you have with you, as you can choose also four different LLMs that you want to use for each one, four different voices that you want to use, and you actually have full control over it at the normal rate. And the rate that you'll see after this today is going to be $3 an hour. So instead of a VA with an average IQ of, let's say, like 90, that's, just helping you do stuff, this is going to cost $3 an hour at scale to run. And the ads I'm seeing people charging for systems like this, they're charging $20 an hour. And I don't even think they're doing it the right way, which I'll show you guys how. So each of these system prompts looks different in terms of the name, the role, the tone, the goal, the knowledge tiers, depending on what we're talking about: beginner, medium, advanced, the format of it. And it's very important in the format of it. I don't have it here, but that you mentioned not to output in Markdown, and to say that you actually are going to penalize for Markdown and to only give it in HTML. That'll make it so that your AI doesn't say asterisk, 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 new email, asterisk, 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 and it's not good. So you'll want to know that. That was one of the bottlenecks I ran into. Then you'll want to provide it some example questions, restrictions, psychological hooks, usage, meta, style, context, caveats, return format. So I've already actually gone ahead and created all these system prompts that are unique to ops, content, mindset, etc. So what do I have? 4 system prompts. And why are they .py? Because in order to run these on my computer, they are files. So, and they are .python files. So the framework that LiveKit has, which I have the code right down here, is written in Python. And all you have to do is take that prompt and put it inside of the instructions right here, and then save this as a file on your computer of, let's say, ops.py. And now, like, the entire system, like, this is literally the architecture in your computer. And then you'll have your API keys as well. That is a separate file. That's a .env file. All you need is 2 files, the agent file and then the API key file. And then when you go to run this, it's going to run directly in your terminal. But right now I'm working on building a front end for this too. So that explains right here what we have. We have these 4 Python files, which are just LiveKit frameworks with system prompts in them. And we have, all of them are referencing our .env file, which has all of our API keys to those 4 different service providers: LiveKit API, DeepGram API for speech to text, OpenAI for LLM, and then Cartesia for speech to text. And so those are the 4 API keys that are in that .env file. Then you have the model architecture. So what's actually happening? Well, we have an input that is a speech input. So I'll go ahead and run the file or open the app on my computer, and now I can speak to the LLM. What is happening in real time is that DeepGram is taking my speech and turning it into text in milliseconds. Then that text is shot over to the API of ChatGPT or whatever LLM that you choose as AI gets better. And that is also generating the response to you, speaking to it as fast as possible. Then it is taking that response and it is turning it into text to speech with Cartesia, and in the same environment in a high latency setting. It is going to then speak back to you in an output, and so forth. So you'll be able to talk to it no matter if you want therapy, whatever. It is going to follow that same format, and that is what this open source architecture is. Now, where this becomes actually valuable compared to just using ChatGPT or Grok is the ability to add your own tool calling and function calling to it. So if the LLM, when you speak to it, recognizes that you're telling it to call a tool or a function, before it speaks back to you and gives you the output, it will actually call a tool. And those tools can be whatever tools we want that have the APIs, that have the webhooks, or have the MCPs. And so, not always when I use Grok am I telling it to search online or do certain things. Mainly it's just to talk through things or to pull things, then to talk through about them. So it's important to know how that works. It's just an LLM function calling inside of the script that we add on a few lines into of code that will be able to call functions and then return them in the chat. So these functions I've defined as per each of these agents. So that would be like Go High Levels API, searching on Google, Firefly's API for my sales call notes, Google Sheets, Calendly, X, Reddit, Google Calendar, Todoist, Google Docs. Then we have operations. So same goes. So essentially the tools that I'm using in my day-to-day that we almost identify already in the AutomateOS canvas, we're able to identify that theoretically with this architecture and through proving concept with a few tools already, that it is possible at scale to have super intelligent voice agent with the best of the best speech text LM and text to speech that the market offers available to you, with the ability to also pull your tools and that data in from other sources. So now that we know it's this simple and that's all that it is, then we can start to identify that things like Go High Level voice agent, things like synthflow voice agent are really just like gatekeeping an architecture of APIs and making it more accessible to you and rebilling you at a rate of, let's say, instead of $3 an hour, what I've cranked it out to, of $10 an hour, $15 an hour, giving you certain access, and that's how they're making all their money. And so the way that you know this is legit as well, they are literally providing the service for ChatGPT of the voice model and mode. So another important thing to note is that this is both something you can do client facing as something that can connect to Twilio and make phone calls and send text messages and handle client inquiries. But it can also be internal. This use case I'm showing is internal. I think everyone should start with internal because I think that's going to be a little harder to define and set up. So that is the architecture. Before I go into, obviously right now my goal is to use, and this is why I needed to use Cursor, is to build a front end now for this instead of my terminal that supports like really cool UI elements and something I actually want to use and is easy to access. And once I do that, then this will be a fully functioning system that is very specific to me, that is very, very fast and is what I refer to as superintelligence. And also RAM has now set up on a little small Raspberry Pi and is walking around or in the car with too. So now this plays into like what we actually mapped out like a year ago inside of the program of what I was saying back like a year ago. I think the future isn't going to be done for you, done with you, do it yourself, or even the hybrid offer, but done with AI. And how do you identify essentially which parts of your offer can be done with AI, or like which parts of your business can be cloned or replaced with AI? So this is great at, a baseline level. Even if you just have one agent, I would recommend starting out with one. But it literally is just changing the system prompt to have multiple of them. So what I've put together is a way to identify this done with AI process. So the first thing that we have is, in order to know, like, because this is now applying it to business and not just like for fun, is that in order to service somebody in the market and find product market fit, like we have to take somebody from a current result to a desired outcome. So that would be from no ads to a lot of ads. And a lot of times you have an offer statement that confirms you delivering results to people. I help X do Y, or I help X go from Z to Y by doing X. So that can be anything: ads, automations, AI. So go from no ads to a lot of ads. And so that is essentially the process that you are selling people in your offer. And in order to identify if that offer works, you have to identify what are called activation points. And this is an example with 5 of them. Let's say that we have to take somebody from no ads to a lot of ads. Well, how do we get them there? Well, these are all of the things the client needs to do to get there. Well, they need to have a Facebook ads account. They need to have videos of them talking about their service. They need to have a budget set to run ads. All things that just like this person would have to do without us to achieve getting that result. The second thing is the mechanism. Okay, well, now what our company does to help them go from the current result to the desired outcome? Mechanism 1 could be we give you documentation on how to set up your Facebook ads. We then write your ad for you. We then give you the script to and the necessary settings on your camera you need to set up to shoot the video. So you can identify what your company needs to do to help them achieve the activation points to even get them the result in the first place. And then once you identify those mechanisms of we do this for you or you do this in this process, there are 3 different ways you could do each one. Well, if we are going to, let's say, run ads for you or write your copy, is this going to be, the person does it themselves, the client, we do it with the client on a call, or we do it for the client in the background? So once you identify this in a normal service, you find that there are, let's say, for this example, 160 possible combinations you could offer somebody a ads service. When you do something for them, they do it, you do it together. There are all these small points that you could theoretically, systematically identify different combinations of doing them. And inside of those combinations, you have assets. So let's say for setting up their Facebook account, one is you have an onboarding form. So a lot of times you'll have onboarding forms or internal SOPs that are followed as well to match the DIY. If you're doing a DIY, you need a checklist. If it's done with you, you need a structure for the call. If it's done for you, we need some type of data intake from you so we can even do it for you. So these are supported with assets throughout the service delivery process. And then finally, there are the way that those assets are supported and that service is supported that the team members are doing, they are using online tools to do those things, to write the copy, to create the ad, or to provide them feedback on their sales calls, whatever it is. So these are all the points that go into essentially offering a service. So now you can apply the same framework from this multimodal voice architecture, and you can say, well, let's say we want to identify all of the processes inside of our company and we want no more team members. Essentially, I want a onboarding rep AI, I want a project manager AI, I want a sales director AI, right? So when you take all this, you can create a system prompt like I have that says you are a role expert for company name who helps clients go from current situation to desired outcome. You are specifically assigned to helping the client achieve activation point 1, and you do so through mechanism 1. The way that we perform mechanism 1 is done in the format of leverage point 1. So ensure your work is built around only this format of providing the service. So your IP, essentially, designing around your IP. You should refer to the following SOPs, assets, internal docs, within the asset 1, and the following tools that you have access to for function calling are tools 1. Ensure all responses sound human, include nuances, and follow the exact same format. So when you break down your service into all of these points, you can now clone each of the people that are involved in these processes with a system prompt, which is the skin you're applying to the LLM to get it to act a certain way. And when you do this, there are so many other variables involved, like the LLM that you select for each agent. One might be better at code. One might be better at providing you with client feedback. One might be better at searching online, right? So not only is each system prompt unique to the person involved in your company or that process, but let's say we wanted to clone a client onboarding rep to a discovery rep to a copywriter to a social media consultant to a report writer to a project manager. Well, we can identify that each of them could have their own unique variable if we really want to get super intelligent with it. Each one could have a different LLM. Now, if you're running these local, each one could have a different parameter size. If you're running this local again, each one could have a specific quantization that LLM at that parameter is run. So that's a little advanced. That's for local, but this rest applies for cloud. Then there's the settings that the LLM is set to, the temperature, the token output. There are certain settings, for example, QN, without certain settings, it's unusable. So if you're acting as a client onboarding rep or a discovery rep, no matter the LLM you select, it's also important if you're cloning an individual to understand the settings that the LLM performs best at to perform exactly in that way. Then you have the system prompt, which is unique to how that individual acts. Then you have the assets that that individual already you would be training them on that they have access to as well in their system prompt. Then you have the tools that the client onboarding rep uses, the discovery rep uses in this process that we just defined as well, that can be function calling tools for the AI. Then you also have like API costs. If you're using cloud models, that you can then define like the hourly rate of having this run compared to a team member. So like if you really want to get super intelligent with it, it's not just create 5 different steps cloning this process with the same AI. It's no, break it down to different LLMs, different settings, different system prompts for each, different tool calling for each. And that's essentially what I'm trying to do with this process and what we're doing with this process. Essentially, that was a more advanced version of applying it to a business setting and cloning individuals in a business setting versus just like setting up this multi-model architecture for fun. But that is essentially how I identified the need for these 4 agents with these 4 tools, with 4 different LLMs and 4 different system prompts, and like 4 different whatever else you want to say as well. So that is kind of the presentation for today. And this will be recorded, and I also will be sharing the Miro board for this that has all of the code, the docs for LiveKit for setting this up. And then I've already made a demo video showing how the system works, and I'll be sharing it once I have my interface done here on the front end for you guys. But does anybody have any, I'll now open up the floor for discussion for any questions, comments, ways to improve this, ways to monetize this, sell this, immediately, build on top of this. Anything that you guys want to mention?